All right. I was tripping for a minute. There we go. All right. Pardon me. I was trying to figure something out. I saw at the end of the month. There we go. So I'm good now. Yeah. So I saw at the end of the month that things were gonna change on here. Let me make sure one other thing before I get started. Yeah, supposedly it was some software changes on YouTube, different ways to stream and whatnot. And I just wanted to make sure I was up to speed on how to go about doing, business. So I said, let me get in here and fool around with it. So that's kind of what I was doing. We'll talk about a couple entertainment notes, especially Bosch. I don't know if you're a fan of the series or not, but it's out there on Amazon Prime right now. It is one of my favorite shows. I'm only on episode 4 right now. I kind of didn't want to jump in and watch the whole thing all in one sitting, or two, because I wasn't really sure what's going on with the whole quarantine situation. So I was kind of just watching this 2 episodes at a time. So with this dropping, I think it was available. It was available Thursday night. This past Thursday night. So yeah, I didn't start it then. Watched 2 episodes Friday, and then 2 episodes Saturday. Probably get in 2 episodes today, and maybe more because I might start a little earlier. But yeah, I'm just on here trying to figure out, like I said, the new this new live stream thing. But I'm gonna get into this topic here in just a second. I wanted to make sure everything was kind of working. Uh, see if that happens. That did not happen. Oh, there we go. So okay, so that's good. So yeah, everything is good now. Let me do one more test. Please use a keyframe for a second list. What else did I want to do? There we go. So anyway, I wanted to talk about something real quick before I get into this entertainment stuff. I did a couple other videos on it already on the Instagram page, and but it's about sports and racism in sports. Not that type of discussion, but I wanted to deal with some things, try to help people out. The young boy, it's a young boxer, 21 years old, Devin Haney, and he was on a live stream doing an interview with one of the popular channels out there, and he was talking about Vasily Lomachenko, and he said that he would never lose to a white boy, something to that effect. And of course, that's going to be controversial. It's going to trigger some people. I don't know, man. Like I said, for me, it's not for me to tell people not to get offended. If any boxing fans were offended by it, that's on them. I'm gonna fall back and let the situation play out. I wouldn't run out here and defend him. I think he's got to go down that path on his own. He's got to handle that on his own, which he tried to do. He went to his Instagram page and put up a side by side image of him and his mentor, big brother Floyd Mayweather, and then he made something with the. He had a caption on there about I'm not racist, I've never been racist, and I'm chasing greatness. Cool. All in all, this just kind of shows the level of maturity of the young guy, and that he's lacking in some things. His understanding of his words and his impact and everything. He doesn't really grasp it, and it's still some it's still some it's still a chance for him to figure some things out. But he's got to go through this moment, and as light as it was, in my opinion, I'm not sure it makes it through today. I'm not sure it makes it through the next couple of days before people move on. I think one thing, he just comes across as a bit of a brat. He's a young guy who he has these big expectations for himself and these big goals that he wants to chase down out here. But I really don't. I mean, and it's going to take time to get there. And so we'll see. But one thing that I wanted to get along the lines of this, what I wanted to get to was, I was listening to a podcast a while ago, and this was after the Tyson Fury, and let me take this down while I'm not talking about that so it's not confusing. There we go. But there was a podcast I was listening to, and it's hosted by, it might have been Chris Mannix on the Sports Illustrated Boxing Podcast, or his Sports Illustrated Boxing Podcast. But he was him and a lawyer, a guy that's represented a couple of fighters. They were talking about, this was the show following the Fury and the Deontay Wilder and Fury rematch. And they were breaking down the outcome of that and, just talking through it like normal. Here it is, Chris Mannix. He covers the NBA. He's covered the NBA for years. He's been out there in the sports reporting, sports journalist world for years. And then this other, his guest, or his guest was this lawyer. And they made no mention of anything from the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder fight. They made no mention of the walkout music that Deontay Wilder had, which was something. It was an artist named D Smoke. He was singing, or his song that he was rapping was called Black Habits. And I'm gonna get to the chorus of it real quick. The chorus of the song was black magic, black excellence, black habits, this black medicine, everything, black chucks, black tucks, everything, black hug, black love, everything, praise black Jesus, play black Moses, give them flowers while they still here, black roses, everything, black tie, black ride, everything, black pride, black lives, everything. Okay, that's what he was rapping about. So, some white fans took exception to this. And if you go through the lyrics of the song, he's not really saying anything. Like, there's nothing in parentheses down with white people. There's nothing there's nothing putting any other community down. The song is about praising all of these different things in black culture, whether it's achievements, whether it's the way that we dress, our day-to-day, how we move through our communities and whatnot. That's all that the song is really about. But I was listening, so Chris Mannix and his guest, they didn't even touch on this. They didn't say nothing about none of this. And that's what I think when it comes to racism in sports. If you have good common sense, or if you have a certain understanding, this situation like yesterday with Devin Haney, it's really not that big of a deal. You understand the context of it. You understand, and you're more tolerable. It might bother you a little bit, and you might be like, he sounds like a young punk, or I don't really like that. But in the big scheme of the things, what he said is not oppressing Vasily Lomachenko or any other white 135-pounder, 140-pound fighter out there. Just because he said, I never lose to a white boy, it's not affecting any of those fighters. This doesn't hurt the ability of Vasily Lomachenko to go out and earn money. It doesn't take anything away from his future purses. So to sit here and take this so far to say that he's racist, I mean that's one to each his own. You know, I can't tell you how to process that. But for him to come out, I mean, but it is on some supremacy stuff. You are saying that, but this is common through sports since we've been doing this. Since we've been doing the Olympics, since we've had the NFL, Major League Baseball, the Negro Leagues, this is what is this at the crux of all of it. It's been this. So again, I think this is nothing for us to lose our minds on. But again, it's not up for me to tell people to get over it. It's not up to me to say move on. I can sit here and break this down and discuss it. That doesn't mean that anybody is going to that anybody that thinks the way that they think, it's not like they're gonna say, oh well, Wood, I didn't look at it like that. You're right. You know what? He's not a racist. If you were bothered by it, you were bothered by it. The thing is, one other thing is, the kid really hasn't done anything for anybody to really give a damn one way or the other. Like, who is Devin Haney? You know, you could at least wait to get to be somebody before you really go down this path the way that you're flirting with different things. But anyway, before I get off of that topic, one other thing that I want to talk about, there was actually a fan that called in on the Sirius XM boxing shows after the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury fight, the rematch. And this guy was clearly bothered by Deontay Wilder's ring walk. He didn't like the song. He called in and said that he was pissed off that he bought the pay-per-view. And he said he was upset that Deontay Wilder injected race into the rematch. And I think it was unfortunate because he called into 3 different shows on there that talk about boxing over a week and a half period. And on every one of the shows, they cut him off immediately, and nobody talked to the guy. Nobody let him really get his views off. Nobody really tried to help the dude out. And I thought it was I thought we missed like a coachable moment for this person. Because again, what I just said with the chorus of the song, yeah, he's saying all this stuff, black this, black that, but it's not a song about hatred. It's not a song about black supremacy. It's not a song putting any other community or ethnicity or ethnic group. It's not saying anything negative to nobody else. It was just talking about this dude's appreciation for the black experience on a day-to-day basis. That's all it was talking about. But the dude called in. He called in to the Akin Barak show. He called in to the At the Fight show on Friday night and Monday nights. And then he called into one day I caught him calling in to the Luke Thomas show. Luke Thomas does a podcast or does video work, I think, for Showtime, for some of their YouTube stuff. But nobody helped this dude out. And here he is, frustrated as hell. But just because he introduced his comment the way that he did, everybody shut him down immediately. And I just don't think that's right, you know. And like I said, I thought it was a chance to help explain what Deontay Wilder's presentation was all about. And, you know, we can have this discussion. If we don't change your mind in this 2 or 3 minutes that we got you on the line, you know, we can't do nothing about that. But we did try to get you together that Deontay Wilder did not inject race into the discussion. It was February. It was February 22nd. That's Black History Month. D-Smoke, who he had rapping his song, just did a song that kind of fit with the theme of Black History Month. Like it's foolish that we even got to connect these dots to somebody. But again, we have some individuals out here that as soon as you hear skin color, or as soon as you hear something racially related, some people just lose it. Black and white people. You know, some people just lose it and don't even listen to the next sentence. And we should be farther along than that. But like I said, man, and it's well known, common sense is just not common. But like I said, it was one thing that I was looking for, like I just mentioned in that Sports Illustrated boxing podcast with Chris Mannix and his guest. Also, I think I listened to the Boxing Esquire podcast with Kurt Imhoff, another white guy. Again, he didn't mention in his follow-up episode after that rematch, he didn't say one thing about D-Smoke's song. People that know or have a certain maturity, a certain comfort in dealing with people with other people from other communities, it was a non-issue. But you can't control what people think, and that's kind of where Devin Haney in this situation, he's just not at 21 years old. He's just not really. I was listening to something about some comedy the other day. There's white comedians, you know, black comedians. They have free reign. They talk about everybody. They talk about all communities. They make jokes. They do what they want to do. Nobody says anything. You only have a handful of white comedians who can really turn the tables here and make jokes about other communities. It doesn't have to just be black people. It's jokes that are made about Asians, about Latinos, about Mexicans, so on and so forth, Islanders, so on and so forth. But only certain comedians have the chops to really address these situations and make good points, but also keep it funny, you know, and not go down the path of being labeled a racist and whatnot. But I'm gonna move on from that, man. I wanted to talk some entertainment. And right now, like I said, in this quarantine situation, man, I don't know where you are watching TV for like a month now, trying to get into some, trying to, pass the time and whatnot. And Amazon helped me out because one of my favorite shows came back on this past weekend, which is Bosch, season 6, starring these two gentlemen right here, Titus Welliver and Jamie Hector, who came on the scene as Marlo Stanfield from The Wire. And Titus Welliver, you've seen him. He's been in a bunch of movies throughout the years. He was in Biker Boys. He had a little short role in Biker Boys. He was also in The Town. He played the FBI agent who was from Southie, where Ben Affleck's character was from. And it's kind of funny because Bosch in this series is kind of close to, in his mannerisms and whatnot, he's very close to the guy that Titus Welliver played in The Town. But anyway, man, like I said, with us not knowing where this COVID quarantine situation is coming from, I didn't sit down yesterday and watch the whole season of Bosch. I did 2 episodes Friday night, the first 2 episodes Friday night, and then last night we watched episodes 3 and 4. So I was just gonna talk through them really quick. Like I said, I don't know where people are with Bosch. I mean, it's doing very well with its tomato meter score. It's I believe it's Amazon's longest running show. It's also its highest rated show from what I understand. So it's doing well in all of those regards, but I really don't hear like widespread, like it's not like Bosch heads running around. It's not Bosch forums that I'm aware of. It's never really garnered that type of support. But like I said, it's one of my favorite shows. It's probably in my top 3. This is the penultimate season. There's gonna be there's this season obviously, and then they already came out and said they renewed it for a season 7, and then there won't be a season 8. It'll be going away, and I think it's about that time. If you've been following the show the whole time, you kind of see that it's kind of ran its course in a way. But getting into this episode, I was trying to find the name of the title real quick. Where is the name of the damn title? There is no name to it. It's just episode 1. So it picks up, says nearly a year has passed and Bosch is still grinding on the Daisy Clayton murder case, gets called to the Lake Hollywood Overlook to investigate the murder of medical physicist Stanley Kent. The first episode wasn't too bad. Not a whole lot new happens. He's working on the case that from the lady last year, the drug addict that he had or that he met when he was undercover, trying to chase down the ring that was distributing the opioids or whatever. And he met that lady that he was kind of working. That's who he worked to get inside. They went out to that location out in the middle of nowhere with a group of people. And it's like they had them being mules or whatever going in and getting the drugs. And then they brought them back to this location and they kept them there for a few days or whatever. I kind of didn't really understand all of that, but it wasn't. You had to understand that to just watch the show. But anyway, coming out of that situation, she wanted to get clean, and Bosch said he would help her. He wanted to help her, and Bosch, and through them talking, he found out that her daughter was married, and that was her reason for being, why she was struggling to stay clean, because she was trying to deaden the pain of losing her daughter. So Bosch was like, check this out. I'll help you out. I'm a cop. I'm a damn good detective. I'll investigate it. I'll see what I can find out on this thing. And you do your job and stay clean. So that's kind of what coming into this season is. But like I just told you on the synopsis of the first episode, this doctor who's helping people with cancer treatments, he goes into the lab and takes this radioactive material, and somebody is extorting him. They say that they have his wife and that they're gonna kill his wife if he doesn't give them this drug called cesium. I've seen CZ before in other terrorist threat movies or domestic terrorism or whatever. So I was kind of familiar with CZ. He takes the material from his lab, goes out to meet the people who supposedly have his wife, goes out there to do the exchange. He was smart enough to not take the material with him without seeing his wife to make sure that she was alive. And because he doesn't have it, they just take out a gun and they execute him. And so, obviously the next morning, Bosch and J. Edgar, they pick the case up. They go out there to the scene, check it out, and then the show starts. And so they go back. One of the things that I like about Bosch is that they keep the scope or the scale of the stories just right. And even though this is a 10 episode show that's on Amazon, it really comes across like a weekly show if you factor in all of the peripheral stories, like Bosch with his daughter, J. Edgar's dating a new woman. It looks like he's completely moved on from his kid's mother, his ex-wife. We haven't seen them at all this season. And so J. Edgar is dating this other woman who happens to be a detective herself. He's got that going on. Is something going on? Crate and Barrel are still around in their new roles. They're doing their thing. And then Deputy Chief Irving, Lance Reddick, also from The Wire. He's doing his thing now. Guy has his sights set on running for the mayor of Los Angeles. And so he's working on that. And then Bosch's daughter, Maddie, she's an internship at the lawyer who Bosch worked for last year. So it starts out with this big situation, looking like it's a real live dirty bomb situation for Los Angeles, or some act of domestic terrorism could threaten a large number of people, and that's what we're dealing with. They go to this doctor's house and investigate his wife, or actually they go to find his wife. I don't think at that time they didn't know that she was supposed to be kidnapped or being held for ransom. So they go to the house and the doors open. After the fact, you kind of pick up on these things. They should have been hints. But he goes in, the doors open, they sweep the house and find the wife tied up on the bed. Bosch cuts her loose. She asks for her robe. Just get my robe. That's another point that you should pick up on, and by episode 4, the importance of the robe that the lady asked for. So then they figure out, she gives them a description of who abducted her, and she's crying and whatnot, asking what happened to her husband, did he make it, so on and so forth. And then the FBI gets involved once they figure out that this cesium is missing from the lab. The FBI gets involved, but then the wife, she actually gives them a description. She gives Bosch a description of who abducted her, and she mentions something about this tattoo on one of the guy's wrists that was 308. So then we figure out that there's this group in Los Angeles, like their whole thing is about free men. They don't want to be part of the. They don't want to be subjects of the or citizens of the United States. They don't recognize social security numbers. They don't recognize the banking system. They don't mess with anything government. So that information puts Bosch and J. Edgar onto tracking down and investigating this group of people called 308 Sovereign. And so that's kind of what we get into. The FBI, of course, is like, look, they got to see who has the biggest stick. FBI versus the local guys. Of course, Bosch, if you've been rocking with him the last several seasons, you know that he lets nothing or nobody get in the way of his investigation. He's a murder detective, and he's going to solve this murder. So, him and J. Edgar have to play however they're going to play with the FBI. But they are kind of put into a joint task force of sorts where they got to work together. The FBI is focusing on finding the cesium, and then Bosch is looking for who murdered the doctor. So that's kind of in a nutshell. I mean, that's where we are, episodes 1 through 4. And then in the meantime, one of the other dope things about Bosch is that they, like I said, it's almost like it's a weekly show. If you look at how they have different cases starting along with the major case. So the big case here is figuring out who killed the doctor, and then recovering the CZ, which is the investigation of the 308 Sovereign. At the same time, while J. Edgar is assisting Bosch with that and doing his thing and that, he's also working on the case from last season where his CI, which happened to be a friend of his from the past, was murdered in some gang-looking situation. He's working that investigation still. So and then Bosch is also investigating the lady from last year, the lady with the drug problem. He's investigating her situation. But going back to the J. Edgar situation, he is looking into something from Haiti. He's actually like a second generation Haitian, or came to Los Angeles area as a young kid, but he's very familiar with what happened back in Haiti. But now there's a Haitian guy that's running drugs in the Los Angeles area and has an organization there, and J. Edgar's investigation leads him to two dirty cops from last year. So that's going on. And then also, what else? So that's kind of the big three. The doctor / cesium investigation. J. Edgar getting involved with this Haitian drug dealer. And then the police chief's his mayoral race. That's kind of the big three stories that are going on in season 6. Let me see. Let me get to episode 2. So at episode 2, like I said, I just made it through 4, so only got 2 more to get to. A detail from Kent's widow. That's the doctor who stole the cesium to get his wife back. But a detail from Kent's widow, Alicia, leads Bosch and the FBI to suspect a group of sovereign citizens in connection to the stolen radioactive cesium and Overlook murder. But they clash over tactics, causing a deadly standoff. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with that. I've already kind of covered that. But one thing in this episode, that one of the junior FBI officers, he's a hothead, and they go to Bosch is like, well, we're the local people. Let's go talk to this guy and interview him and see what we can get out of him, and let us take the lead on that. So the FBI is like, okay, cool, we'll give you your space, go do your thing. They go to the man's house, and a gunfight breaks out. And so the guy that they needed to talk to from this 308 Sovereign group, he gets shot on his own property. So, of course, this turns up heat between this sovereign citizen group and the LAPD. What's new? That's happened damn near every season on Bosch. But what it does here is it takes out a major interest in the 308 Sovereign group, because they didn't get to ask the questions and kind of connect more dots. So the investigation is still going on. They're following this sovereign group, thinking that they're the ones that are going to do this, pull off this domestic terrorist act in Los Angeles. So the whole time here, the LAPD has this helicopter that's flying around, tracking or trying to getting reads on radioactive material, and that's how they're kind of running sweeps across the map to find it that way, while Bosch is doing the investigation on the ground in conjunction with the FBI. So moving into to episode 3, when cops discover the body of a homeless man covered in radiation burns, the hunt for the cesium intensifies, but Bosch and Edgar wonder if their assumptions about the crime have been wrong all along. This brings us to another dope aspect about the series. It's a plot twist, a major plot twist. So the whole time it looked like they were looking for this domestic terrorism threat. But really, as we get into episode 3 and they find this homeless man, they go back to his vehicle that he's living out of, because he has the way that his body looks when they examine him. They know that he's been around some radioactive material. So Jerry and Bosch go to the man's van. J. Edgar has bought this device that reads it reads radioactive levels, and so as they're looking through the van, the container thing that the doctor had in the first episode, you see it next to the van, so you can put 2 and 2 together. J. Edgar's his meter starts beeping, and so they find the cesium. So here it is, and by the third episode, they've already solved what we thought was the major investigation for the whole season. So, something has, there has to be something new to go to. So then, Bosch goes back. This was wrapped up way too clean based on what they initially thought was going on. But meantime, they're also, the director, the writers, they're still showing us some activity with this 308 sovereign group that lets you know something is building with them. You just don't know we don't know what it is at this point. So that's episode 3. We get into episode 4. Bosch discovers there's more to Alicia Kent's story than meets the eye. Elizabeth Clayton calls. That's the lady who had the drug problem last year that Bosch met while he was undercover. But Elizabeth Clayton calls with the news that jumpstarts her daughter's cold case. Edgar and Hovan craft a plan to move in on Avril. Avril is the Haitian drug dealer that Edgar is starting to investigate for. It started with the murder of his friend, but now it's also dirty cops involved, and then also this Hovan dude. I think he might be DEA. I think he's undercover DEA, I believe. But he's also letting him know that Avril, while he is fronting as this small restaurant or this nightclub owner, local businessman, that actually, he's the head of some kind of crime organization that's moving quite a bit of weight. So, but back to Bosch discovering there's more to Alicia Kent's story. The widow, whose husband was killed in the first episode. So I told you about the robe a few minutes ago. Of course, Bosch goes back, and that's why I don't think that a lot of people really care for the the average TV person or fan of series is probably not a fan of the quietness of Bosch, the detail of the investigation, all the steps that they take, and all the writing that they do to set all of this stuff up. I don't know if the whole show is sexy enough, like I said, to be like I said, there's no real buzz about Bosch in a lot of circles. It's just not, the hottest TV show out there. Although, like I said, for me, it's perfect for my type of TV. What can I say? But so Bosch goes back and he's studying doing real police work, doing real investigative work. He's going back through all of the crime scene pictures, and he's staring at some photos from the screenshot that was sent to the doctor that let him know his wife was had been abducted, and he needed to get the cesium. And on the picture in the background, the wife's robe is on the chair behind her. She's laid down in the bed, gagged with her hands tied behind her back. And over in the background of the picture is a chair with this robe draped over the side of it, the back of the chair. So Bosch sees that and realizes that he tells Edgar, when I went there and when I cut her loose, I had to go get her robe out of the closet. So this is all fake. This is all staged. So from there, they know that the wife... Oh, and then Bosch also figures out... he starts looking into the wife's financial situation, and she has some kind of medical patent that she has for something in some kind of medical supply that's a huge... that makes a lot of money. And so we already learned in the first episode, she's retired. Her husband, but she is like in the medical community, or she's a scientist of something from like Stanford. But since she designed this medical supply thing, some kind of sponge or something, she no longer has to work. So we getting to the point that it looks like the wife set up, devised a plan along with somebody to get her husband out of the way so that she can move on and do whatever she wants to do in life. So Bosch goes and meets with the police chief, the deputy chief, Irving. And he's like, look, I need a warrant. I need to tap her cell phone. It's more going on here. And this is another reason why you might like Bosch. Is like Bosch does not stop. Like he had this case wrapped up. Everybody could go home and move on. But Bosch, like I told you before, he's just tenacious. Nothing can outsmart him. No bad guys can get away. He has to figure out what happened. And so he goes to he has the meeting with the deputy chief. He tells him, okay, well, I'll let you go to the judge. You can speak with the judge and try to get this wire on the widow's phone. He goes to the judge. He doesn't get his 2 weeks, but he gets 72 hours. And then once they get the wire set up, of course, Bosch goes to to follow up with the wife, because he only has the 72 hours, so he's got to stir the pot to try to make her make a mistake that they can catch on her cell phone. So of course he goes in and meets with her, asks a couple of questions, and kind of gives off. He does just enough to spook her, to let her know that he's kind of on to. It looks like the case is closed, but he asked her about something that lets her know, this guy's not letting this go. So as soon as he leaves her house, she gets on the phone and tells somebody the detective came back by. Bosch is asking me questions, blah blah blah, and so Bosch's plan works. They already up on the phone, and then when he gets back, they already have a name. And what do you know? It's one of the FBI. Actually, it's the special agent in charge. It's the guy who runs the FBI office there in Los Angeles. So another great plot twist makes this whole thing more interesting. So that's kind of where we are. I think that was episode 4. So like I said, that's all I've watched to this point is 1 through 4. I'm kind of in the middle of the fence. Like, where can it go from here? Because we thought it was going to be this major. We thought it was going to be this big time, this big scaled threat to the city of Los Angeles. And I'm thinking the series, because I think even in the trailer it was like this is the biggest case that Bosch has worked since, and they really sold it as being like this high level, this big scale, this large scale domestic attack. And now that they've already recovered the cesium, it's obviously not going to be about that. So now with 6 episodes left, what do they turn to? Does he crack the case about the daughter? Does J. Edgar get more information on this Avril dude? We also have something going on with Beryl, the older detective. So it's kind of like as the big scale thing that we might have tuned in for season 6, thinking that it was going to be some real fireworks. It really might not be on that level. But again, and that's what I said at the beginning of this live stream, was like, you think, I think that's one of the dope aspects about the show, is that they keep the investigations or the cases, they keep it on a smaller scale that involves like really good really interesting police work. This is based on a series of books by writer Michael Connelly, I believe is his name. So again, I don't know if people are really going to pick up on Bosch and look at it the way that I look at it, and the way that, the fan of the show that I am, and my wife's a huge fan of it too. I don't know if it's ever going to garner that type of following And, in the history of TV shows, it may never be mentioned, in the top 10, top 15 or whatever. But it is a very entertaining show. I think also, if you go back to the season 4, if you go back to season 4, it opened up like that was going to be a major it looked like it was going to be a really big scaled corruption case, and you thought it was you thought it was really something big. But by the end of season 4, it really was only it really wasn't that big of a it wasn't as controversial as or what it looked to be. It was just this one very powerful and very influential businessman had an issue with this really good local attorney, and he just tracked him down and he killed him. And it was really it was a large figure. It was a very influential figure in the Los Angeles area who was killed, but the case really wasn't as big as what they led us to believe. So they kind of give you some things and make you think the show is this big, or the case is this big. But then once it kind of starts to unravel, typically these cases have been kind of smaller matters. But another thing here is, we kind of see the relationship between father and daughter with Bosch and Maddie or Mads. They continue to get on with life with his ex-wife being, murdered in cold blood in a drive-by shooting last year. They're getting on with that. And again, this might not be, excuse me, for some people it might not be great television. Some people might not care about him and his 20-year-old daughter or whatnot. But I think it's, like I said, I just like, I like the pacing of the show. Oh, got all dry. I like the storytelling. And, I'm just a big fan of detective shows, suspense, and I think it has a great mix of everything. You see the office politics in The Office, where Bosch and J. Edgar work. You've seen the politics there in previous seasons. And like I said, this year with Deputy Chief trying to make a run at the mayoral office, you see he has his skeletons in his closet. Like I said, all of these peripheral stories, I've grown attached to them and want to see how they play out. So, like I said, that's episodes 1 through 4. I'm gonna get in 5 and 6 tonight. I'm trying to be nice and watch them with my wife. With me on here, kind of covering different TV shows, I kind of like to be able to look at the series, binge watch them, and get my videos out there, get my breakdowns or my reviews of episodes and whatnot. But like I said, with me not knowing when this COVID-19 situation is gonna resolve, I'm kind of slow walking this one and just going from there. I know I mentioned. So that's it on Bosch. That's pretty much it on season 6 of Bosch. After I get off of here, man, I'm gonna check out this episode 11 of Homeland. This is Homeland season 8, the final season of Homeland. I was bugging out last week. I'm not gonna lie. I was watching the end of Home. I was watching the episode in like 35. Oh, before I get off of Bosch, I do have one thing that's kind of pissing me off. Try to find something. Why the hell Bosch is only a 10 episode per season show? Why the hell are the episodes now down to like 42, 45 minutes each? This is really, as being a huge fan of the show, that's just kind of disappointing. usually like shows with on network TV with with commercials worked in. Usually the shows are like 52, I think 52, 53 minutes each. Here, with the shows, if you look at the runtime of the shows on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb.com, all of these episodes are like 42 to 45 minutes each. So I kind of feel like I'm being robbed. I think last year had the same problem. The episodes were a little shorter, and I kind of feel like I'm being robbed a little bit. We're already not getting the extra or the 2 episodes. Like Homeland is 12 episodes. So what I was getting ready to mention with Homeland, I'm sitting there last week. Excuse me. It's a ton of things, open things left to wrap up. And I'm sitting there with like 20 minutes left, and I'm like, how the hell are they gonna bring all this together? I'm thinking it's the series finale. And then I started Googling season 8 and realized that Homeland is one of the few shows out there that still does 12 episodes a season. So today you can watch episode 11, and then next week, unless something happens, there was no break this year. Usually they do like a mid-series break around 5 or 6 or something. Usually it's a holiday. Easter was last week. Sometimes they'll have that break in there, and then they'll do like a marathon day where they'll show all 5 or 6 of the episodes you've already seen. Usually it coincides with the weekend where they have the channel is free, to people who don't have Showtime, and you can watch all 5 or 6 episodes in a row. And then it's a chance for them to kind of sell new subscribers on buying a subscription to watch the end of the show. But they didn't do that this year, so it's going straight through. But anyway, last week Carrie Matheson did recover the voice recorder of the black box from the helicopter that the president was on, the 2 presidents, the Afghani president, as well as I think it's President Warner. Bo Bridges, who was played by Bo Bridges. That's what the mystery was all about this season, was who shot down that helicopter, or how did that helicopter end up, falling from the sky. And so that's what we were working through. Was Carrie was trying to chase down the black box to what do they call it? The data recorder, the flight recorder. She was trying to chase down a flight recorder so she could listen to that, and that they could have the official, reason, because Jalal is leading the Taliban and telling the world that he was the one that shot down the helicopter. But so at the beginning of the episode, Carrie listens to the flight recorder, and you probably have figured it out based on how the crash site looked and whatnot. And when Max was there, you probably figured it out that it wasn't shot down. At least not with an RPG. Maybe some small rifle fire had damaged something that caused it to go down, but you knew an RPG hadn't taken it down because it just wasn't blown up like that. But anyway, now Carrie gets ears on what was going on. She memorizes everything. And while she's packing it up after she makes the deal with the Afghan person or guy to take custody of the flight recorder, Yevgeny comes in and takes it from her, knocks her out with some kind of, he jabs her in the neck with whatever, knocks her out, and then Yevgeny takes the. You knew something. You knew he was up to something. You just thought Carrie might outsmart him. But Carrie is out there on her own with limited resources and no backup. And she's a woman, she's small. I mean, definitely Yevgeny looks like he's like 6'4" or something, 6'5". But he has his 2 local guys that are helping him out. They come in and take the data recorder or the flight recorder, and Carrie, this is the first time where we see Carrie really, she's beat. You know, she's beaten. She was already on shaky ground anyway. You know, she still wasn't together mentally. She's just out there on heart, you know, and just she was trying to save Max. She felt horrible because it was her making the suggestion to the president for him to come to Afghanistan and announce the peace treaty in person. He follows up on that. You know, the accident happens, and she wants to clear her name, and she wants to avoid, war. And so, but I you know, her first priority is probably to clear her name so that she's not going to go to prison. But she's beaten. You know, she's done all that she can do. She's not a friend of the U.S. or the CIA right now. The FBI is, wants to arrest her and whatnot. And since Yevgeny pulled one over on her and took the voice recorder or the flight recorder, she goes back and writes down what she listened to. But of course, her reputation is so smashed right now, and she's pretty much regarded as a Russian asset, and probably a traitor as well. So her recollection of what she heard isn't worth anything. At the same time, Pakistan is threatening to defend itself if the U.S. comes over into Pakistan to get Jalal. And then the dirty thing that happens this episode, Jalal, he's wilding, but he takes his father's right-hand man who thought was going to take over after Haqqani was assassinated. He was, can't even think of the damn word, executed. He was executed at by gunfire or by gun. His right-hand man was going to continue on with making peace, and so they could all get on with their lives. But of course, Jalal comes in hot-headed and wants to, he wants to fight. And so Jalal starts to despise his father's right-hand man because he wants peace. He wants to do what his father wants to do, and Jalal looks at that as weak and isn't ready to. He doesn't want to go that route. So he takes the situation and he pulls a dirty one on the dude. He doesn't like him preaching peace and him kind of undermining him in front of the men, and he's got to get rid of him. So he tells the dude to get him a target. He wants to do an IED situation and kill some Americans to further escalate matters and set off a war, which it's impossible for him to win, but they believe what they believe. So of course the second in charge goes and selects the target, does as he was told, comes back, and Jalal is like, all right, get the car together, wire up the explosives in the car, and he was like, I'm gonna go find a driver to drive this into the target and kill some Americans. Of course, you see once they had a car wired up and set up, when the other guy comes back, Jalal has selected him. That's how he's gonna get rid of him. And he just does the dude dirty. I thought the second in command, I thought he might have turned himself in and because he didn't want to die, and he didn't want to die in that way. But he accepted his fate. Jalal told him he was going to kill his two sons and probably kill his wife. And, if he didn't go through with blowing up the target. So he goes, the second in command goes to the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan, where the U.S. troops are. They guard the border and whatnot. At the same time, there was a group of special ops. There was a special team that was of like 12 guys, 12 Americans that were being returned from Pakistan custody. They were giving them back to go back to America. And as that bus is doing the drop off to let those guys go free, which is something that the new president had negotiated and what's going on that scale. But as that bus is getting ready to let them off, the second in command drives into the situation with the car bomb and blows all of that up. So a lot of blood is on Carrie's hands right now. She's obviously indirectly or directly, depends on how you want to look at it. She's probably directly the cause of the United States president and the Afghanistan president being dead. That also made Golom kill Haqqani, so that's connected to her. And now she's just got these 12 special ops dudes killed because they were there because of her. She gave them up so that she could she needed to make a move to get to the flight recorder. So she gave up that team that was at a stash house or a safe house. I'm thinking about something else. But so she got a lot of blood on her hands. So that's what I was saying a few minutes ago. Carrie is just like in a really precarious, no pun intended, but she's really in a precarious situation here because she's been trying to do right. She was sent there by Saul to set all of this stuff in motion, but it's all blowing up on her. And obviously, with this being the final season, you know, it's setting up. You know, it's setting up what they got to set up to bring the show to an end. But anyway, she's done playing games at this point. She's like, Yevgeny got over on her. They know that the Russian government has the flight recorder, so she knows she got played, by Yevgeny. But it was kind of, she needed him because he had the resources to even get to the flight recorder and to get her to where Max was being held. So it was kind of, she had no choice but to play the game. It was just in the final move, she didn't have enough manpower to outwit Yevgeny. So Saul has talked to the Russian emissaries that are in the United States. He's working things from his angle. Like, we need this flight recorder because we getting ready to have a nuclear war with Pakistan and with Pakistan and this new president and this senator. I think it's a senator who's kind of like advising him. They want to show the world what American, military might is. And the Pakistans are like, look, we're not playing, we're not backing down. We just have to have this out. Like, we can't be disgraced on the international scene either. So we just got to do what we got to do. So at the same time, to diffuse all of this stuff, Saul is trying to work the Russians like, what do you guys want? We know you got what we need. What's the cost? And the Russians are playing hardball like, we want y'all to do what y'all doing. Go right ahead. But at the same time, the one new mystery, the one new bit of suspense is that the Russian, Moscow or whatever, the Kremlin, they believe that Saul has an asset at the highest levels of the Russian government. Saul was kind of cool with the dude that they took out, that Yevgeny, I believe, took out last year. So they believe that with some of the moves that Saul's made, and Saul is my dude. I love Saul. But some of the moves that Saul has made, some of the things that he's known when he's known them over the last few seasons and whatnot, they really believe that Saul has turned somebody or recruited somebody high up, and they want to know who that person is. And they're like, you give us him or you give us that individual, we'll give you the flight recorder. The only thing that I didn't understand, I know I watch all of this stuff, but I don't always know all of the details. I don't know why. So the decision is made. The FBI is arresting Carrie after she turns herself in. She didn't have any other moves to make, so she turns herself in. The FBI questions her. They arrest her, and the FBI is transporting her back to the United States, where Saul has been, for an episode now. She's on the plane. So she talks to Saul, and she doesn't tell Saul that the price is they need to know who your man is. They need to know who your asset is. I don't know why she won't ask him. She said that would betray Saul. I don't know how, if that's the only capital that they have. I mean, she might know that Saul won't give up his source or his asset. I get that. But to not tell him that that's what the price is, I don't understand how that was betraying him. So maybe that's just a blind spot for me. But she doesn't mention it. She doesn't go down that route for some reason. And now with her completely taken off the board, so to speak, with her not being in Kabul anymore, and not having, not being able to reach out to Yevgeny, it seems like the last two episodes, I don't really know. I mean, it's suspenseful. We don't know how this thing. I mean, if I could back up for a second, I didn't believe that they were going to take out. I didn't believe that they were going to take out a a U.S. president, like, in the story. I didn't think that they were going to go there. You did see how once they crashed, once they got to the president's body, they didn't show his face. It was like, we're not going to do too much. But I didn't think that they were going to go there. So I was kind of shocked that they did take it there. But so now, I mean, obviously, I would think over these last two episodes, they will find a way to avert like a world war. I don't foresee in the last two episodes Russia going to war with the U.S. and Russia going to war. I don't see that happening. Or U.S. and Pakistan. I kind of don't see that happening either. But definitely something has to be resolved between the U.S. and Russia politically or diplomatically to avert things jumping off in Pakistan, in that region. So I think it's gonna be pretty interesting, man. It was kind of the first 2 to 3 episodes were a little slow this year. I mean, they were putting the pieces together to get us here. Obviously, the episode where the helicopter went down, that sped things up a little bit. But I think the season is trending in the right direction, man. And I think they bring this thing home, in pretty good fashion. Like I just mentioned, I am a huge Mandy Patinkin fan. His portrayal of Saul, like this vulnerability that he shows, his commitment to his role as a national security, and the fact last week when they said when he found out that they were bringing Carrie back stateside, and the one chief of staff dude who's kind of in limbo right now with the new president, when he came in there and they had the one-on-one conversation, and he was like, Saul showed all his cards. He was like, look, bear with me. I know Carrie's, I know her reputation is shit right now. I know, she's, her medical situation, I know she's the worst source in the world for us to not act on. We can't use that leverage. We can't leverage her information without the flight recorder. But he's like, I know what I know. I just can't prove it. And so the chief of staff was like, well, look, you got to give Carrie, you got to let whatever's going to happen to her, you can't stand in the way of that. I need you to work with me so we can do what we can do from our side. And Saul, again, his loyalty and his commitment to his job But the bond between him and Kerry that we've seen over the last 8 years is just really dope. And he's like, nah, man. He's like, I got Kerry into this shit. I'm tired of her. Me and her, or him himself, him by himself, then he gonna figure out whatever he can to, get them out of this situation. Meanwhile, like I said, this new president and this senator that's all in his ear with this, basically this "Make America Great Again," this, diehard or far right, viewpoint towards U.S. foreign policy and whatnot. He's really pushing us down this, or he's really pushing them. He's really pushing us, or the U.S. towards, war, and completely not giving any consideration to some of the evidence that they have, because they have the video of Jalal. They have a good idea that he wasn't capable of doing what he said, but because he said it and it's made public, they got to act on it. And so, that's kind of where the conflict is, or the tension. You had a new president, this dude that has his ear, that's trying to, that's trying to cut his, that's trying to make his mark and set up his, whatever he's trying to do politically in the future. You have that going on. And, all of it, it's just all it's all spiraling towards, an interesting set of circumstances over these last 2 episodes. So I'm getting ready to go check that out. Really quickly, the last thing that I was going to talk about, HBO's Insecure season 4. I think that's on demand. I think you can watch that Sunday, after midnight. I think that you can check those episodes out. I don't think you have to wait until they air later on in the night. Last week, the season premiere. Not much new was happening other than the fact that one thing that kind of stood out to me was I was a little shocked. I think I saw the season 2 trailer, or the season 4 trailer a couple of weeks ago. I was kind of shocked how much of the first episode was actually the trailer for the whole season. Unless it really wasn't a season trailer and it was just like the preview of season 1. Maybe that's why it's like that, if I put 2 and 2 together on the spot. Excuse me. But not much new. We have Lawrence back in the mix. He's seeing this new mentor of that Issa has. That's actually his new woman, and it creates a weird situation because Issa really values Condola's her experience and her acumen, in public relations and whatnot. Is really helping her pull off this whole block party thing that is a thing, but in the big scheme of things, what the hell is it really? But Molly's going through her situation. What's his name? Andrew, with the Asian guy, or Asian bae, whatever they call him. Of course, she's never. It's never smooth sailing with her. It's always some drama or some communication gap. It's always something with Molly in her love life. So she's screwing that up because that's what she does. What else is going on? I think her heavier set friend that has most of the comic relief to the show, has the funniest parts to me. I think her name is Kelly. Of course, she came in and blew up the show in her small appearance. And then I think Molly, at the end of this episode, Molly gets into, they get into it again. I didn't go back and watch the finale from last year, but I think Molly had she really called Issa out on her stuff. And like her inability to get her stuff together. And here she comes to the party, Molly, her girl comes to the party, and Molly, her career, in contrast to what Issa's doing, she's this attorney. She might be a partner now and whatnot. A stark contrast there. And Molly, while everything is going well for her career-wise, like I said, her personal life and her love life kind of causes her to be a little reckless in her relationships, and I think she's kind of growing tired of seeing her girl not really advance and get her stuff together. So she challenges her, and I forgive me, I watched so much I can't even remember what the beef was really about at the end of episode 1 last week, but I thought it was a good premiere. Get ready to go. Like I said, I'm gonna watch episode 11 of Homeland right now, and then I'm gonna see if my wife wants to jump in to episode 2 of Insecure. We see that Issa has a new love interest, or a new bae, or some new dick, however you want to put it. This brother, I don't know if he's TSA full time and then security guard part time, but he comes in, and of course we have some comic relief with him. They have a sex scene, and I don't know what her relationship is with dude. I mean, she doesn't seem to be all. It doesn't seem to be anything that's going to be long term. But dude is funny. He had a couple different lines and whatnot, and moments to make to bring the humor in the first episode. So I don't really have a lot on Insecure. I'm glad that it's back. I'm gonna check out online and see what how the women are reacting to it, and what the outlook is and the optimism is for season 4. I kind of just watch Insecure. I don't really have any vested interest in any one particular character. It's just kind of, I just support it because I think what Issa's done in her last several years, I just think that she's really, a hell of an example for anybody out there trying to make anything happen. If you look at where she started and now to be where she is, I think that's the example of what she's done is interesting. So that's really all I have, man. Let me get on off of here. Like I said, I'm gonna get in the box. So that's the rest of the day. It's 1:00 my time, a little after 1. I'm gonna get into episodes 5 and 6 of Bosch season 6. Then I'm gonna get into I'm gonna watch Homeland episode 11. I'm gonna watch that first since that's cooking the most right now. The stuff has really hit the fan, and we getting ready to wind down. So I'm gonna check that out first, and then I'll probably go on and get Insecure episode 2, Insecure season 4 episode 2 out of the way, and then getting into dinner time and whatnot. I guess we'll go on and throw Bosch in. I'll see if I just watch 5 and 6. Maybe I sneak in 7 today. Who knows? Again, man, thanks for anybody that dropped in and chopped it up with me on some random group of entertainment topics. Oh, I'll just throw this out there. Like I said, shout out to my man Bro Knows. He does movie reviews. He's got an Instagram account. I think it's just at Bro Knows, or it's either at Bro Knows or at Bro Knows Movies. It might be that. I don't feel like looking really quickly, but he started doing a daily for his stories on Instagram. He's picking different movies that you can stream or watch on demand, and he's just putting out a quick review, a rating, the platform that you can find it on, and then he's just like with the rating, he's saying whether it's worth your time or not. I think that's real slick from him, because you can literally sit down to watch a movie or to watch something, and you can open up one of your whether it's Amazon Prime, the Showtime app, the HBO app, the Epix app, Netflix. You can waste 10 or 15 minutes just trying to find something to watch. So if you have anybody that's helping you cut out that that peruse time, that's dope. So you can check out his account. Like I said, he's putting it up there daily, but you can his suggestions. But one movie that I'd been passing over for several weeks and hadn't checked out, I actually Friday night, I said, well, let me go on and check this out. But it stars Helen Hunt. It's from 2019, and the name of it is called I See You. And I don't recognize. I know her husband, the guy that plays her husband. I've seen him in other things before. Oh, and then this other person that stars in it is this female that played that. She's one of the supporting characters in not Cousin Pete, Sneaky Pete. Man, I can't even think of the name of the show with Giovanni Ribisi, also on Amazon. But anyway, I See You. It's worth your time. It's Helen Hunt. The synopsis of the movie is that kids are being abducted. A couple of kids have disappeared in this city, and there's an investigation going on. And then Helen Hunt, her husband, is the lead investigator of what happened to the kids. And then there's been a situation in their marriage. Helen Hunt has stepped out. Her husband found out about it, and so they're not really speaking. The family is all fractured right now, and then they have a teenage son who hates the mom, Helen Hunt, because he feels like she's the cause of it all. And then they don't spend a whole lot of time on this investigation with the husband and his partner looking into the disappearance of these kids. But halfway through the movie, or maybe a third of the way through the movie, it starts to look like something supernatural is happening in their house. It's well executed. I can't sit and tell you that it's a Sixth Sense, like the movie Sixth Sense. I can't tell you that it's great. It's not many great performances in them. It's not that kind of movie. But the plot twists are done exceptionally well, in my opinion. But something supernatural starts to happen in the house. And I'm like, at that point, I kind of started losing interest in the movie because I'm not big into supernatural stuff. And then maybe 20 minutes later, it's another plot twist. And you start getting the idea of why you thought it was supernatural. I don't want to spoil it for you, but this part of the movie really piqued my interest. And then there's like three major plot twists over the last 30 minutes of the movie. I really can't tell you none of these because it gives it all up. But it's a pretty good movie. It's definitely a good couch movie. A good home popcorn movie. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. But like I said, it might be about an hour and 45 minutes. Give it about 25 or 30 minutes. It starts cooking and you start understanding what's going on. And then it's a huge payoff. Like I said, the last 30 minutes of the movie. And then even in the final scene is even like another plot twist. So usually all of these plot twists can trip you out a little bit, or you get a little tired of it, or it's not one plot twist to the next, or by the time you get to the third, it starts being really fragile. Like it's not really making sense. They left out some stuff, but it's really a tricky little film that's worth your time. So I would suggest checking that out. Again, it's called I See You. It stars Helen Hunt. I don't know the other people's names, but check it out if you run out of other things to do over the next week. It looks like they made the announcement that states will start to reopen And you know, Pete, this quarantine situation is gonna go away. So you know, it looks like we might only have through the end of the month to kind of be at home on this level. I don't know if much will change throughout this week, but while you have this time, you know, this extra time in the crib, you know, these are all things that you can pass the time with. I see you, Bosch. You know, if you haven't seen, if you're not familiar with the show, plenty of time to go back and check it out from season 1. Season 1 and 2 of Bosch, in my opinion, were really great. Season 3, it kind of falls into what it is, and it kind of just is what it is. You either like it or you don't. And then Homeland, eight seasons on that one. Again, season 1 and 2 were pretty. Were it was about Brody. Check out season 1 and 2. But it's amazing that it got to season 8. So it's plenty of stuff for everybody to find something that interests them. Long story short. But let me get on off of here, man. My name is Wood. Thanks for rocking with me. Thanks for you know, any time that was spent here, please hit that like button. I thought some questions might come up about anything, some comments on anything, but I guess people are just quiet, you know, and let me run my mouth. But anyway, man, let me get on off of here. Pay me no mind. Sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.